exit of your companies and where you are now and how did you grow in your career?
Yeah. So actually, yeah, started at MIT, as you said. I'm actually an immigrant myself. Moved from Europe when I was young, and always saw in my family, my father, my grandfather, entrepreneurial spirit. Both of them started businesses and ran businesses, very different than the ones that we're talking about today, but always saw that and respected that. Knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Did not plan to be one so soon. I started my first company a year out of school, and that company was called Nima. We were building sensors for people that have food allergies, so you can actually test your food at a restaurant or anywhere that you're at to make sure that it's safe to eat.
Was that like a picture you take of the food, or how do you detect it?
It was, you took a small sample of your food and put it into a capsule, put that into a device, and then within 2 minutes it ran basically chemistry-based detection. We had early computer vision to actually make sure that we could detect down to the part per million level, but just really rapid, being able to feel that safety.
Yeah, I think it's life-saving. How did you come up with the idea? How did you originate it? The whole, the capsule and all the details of that.
Yeah, well, my co-founder had multiple food allergies. I had some pretty severe gut health issues, a lot of food sensitivities. So it was born from a personal need. When we were looking into the product, every expert we talked to said, no, that's not possible. You can't make it work that quickly. You can't make it work at that level of detection. And being an MIT engineer, I said, well, what are the laws of physics? What's actually possible from a first principles perspective? And was able to convince myself that it was possible. It just hadn't been done yet. And brought on incredible PhD chemists from MIT as well. And we were able to, that was the first thing that we tried to prove was, can we actually do this in 2 minutes or less? And once we proved that, then it was building the hardware around it, building the software, building an app layer on top of it. But we tried to de-risk the most difficult part first and make sure that we could do that.
It's incredible, especially because I'm always complaining around the house saying AI is taking over everybody's job, but I'm still doing the laundry and the dishes and the trash and the beds and the bills and the kids, right? And it feels like this is the connection, the physical world, somehow leveraging it and to solve real world problems. And do you think we're there yet? You solved a problem that seems like incredibly hard that I would never attempt. And did you successfully solve it, that you landed up selling the company, or what happened to that company? And do you think the rest of the jobs on my daily chore list can also be solved that way? And are we there yet?
Yeah, great question. So we did succeed. We built a working product, shipped millions of units. One of the things that I'm actually most proud of is, so we sold the company. We sold it at the beginning of COVID, actually like right before everyone really realized what was about to happen, but sold it to a medical device distributor who then, part of the reason we sold it to them was because they would have more reach. They'd be able to keep the product on the market for people that needed it so much. After that, with COVID, the focus shifted for them and the product dropped off the market. But a group of our users were so passionate about having the product that they actually banded together, raised a fund, and reacquired it.
Oh, wow.
And then now, just recently, it was reacquired by another group, and they're relaunching it again. So it's amazing. This company that we started 10, 12 years ago now is the user base needs it and wants it so much that they just keep finding a way to keep it on the market.
Incredible. Tell me, how much did you have in traction and how much did you raise on that one? Anything you can share?
Yeah, we raised over the course of the company a little over 20 million, which at that time was a lot. I think we raised a 4 million Series Seed, and then our Series A was maybe 9 million. We got a little bit of government funding too, but hardware is hard. Yeah. It's manufacturing is really hard, and we can talk more about that. But with AI coming to the physical world, I do think that there's a lot of ability for that to change and improve over time as well.
Yeah, but the challenge that I have is I'm not a mechanical engineer and I don't invest in things that I don't fully understand, which basically rules out all these robotics companies, except for like Cardinal Robotics I was mentioning. And I did because it's a safe bet. 30,000 janitorial bots. I actually saw the bot cleaning, and then I saw pictures, videos. Once you've established market traction, very easy to have faith in someone. But when I'm evaluating companies for things like what I was saying, like there's a company in Speedrun, for example, just last week, where a lamp will fold your laundry for you. So all the lamps in your bedroom will be folding laundry on your bed while you go off and, dance with your partner or eat dinner or whatever it is that you like to do. Now, how do you evaluate a company like that to see if it would be like a Nima? Will it successfully raise? Would it have product market fit?
Yeah, as someone who has built hardware and now runs product and engineering for a software company but focused in manufacturing, I would say I, as an investor, would be very hesitant to invest in hardware that has not proven itself. Just having gone through it, it is still really challenging. And the thing with hardware too is that what's difficult with that, especially for startups, is that you have to build it to scale from the start. With software, you can build something that it can be a little more prototypey. It can be a little less robust in the beginning, and you can change that over time. With hardware, as soon as you get to manufacturing, that has to be a scalable process.
Right.
And so it's very difficult for startups to do that. Again, I do think that AI is already starting to shift this, will continue shifting it more. Products like what Instrumental provides help with that, but hardware continues to be hard. I have not seen anything to disprove that yet.
And I guess it's also the quality, right? If you have a bug in a hardware, it's very different than a bug in a piece of software. It can actually injure somebody, perhaps. And I'm thinking capital costs are insanely high, and therefore you need to raise a ton of money. I'm surprised you said only 20 million. I thought that would be like you raise 100 million to it.
I mean, if it had been today, it probably would have been 100
It would have, right?
but
Yeah.
that was a different time over a decade ago. Yeah.
So I guess I'm right on my instincts, but I feel like I'm missing out on a whole market because robotics seems to be finally here. What is it that's shifted so that people are actually being brave enough to invest and also build companies that are, automating a lot of human jobs?
Yeah, well, I think we're in a very different world in terms of hardware right now. There was, when we started Nima, there was a growth in hardware. That was when 3D printing had come around and prototyping was so much easier, and you could go through the early prototype and design phase much more quickly. But one of the things that we're seeing now is this is the biggest boom in hardware in general, in honestly ever, with GPU compute servers, defense tech. We're seeing a huge boom, and then now soon to be robotics, humanoids, that type of thing. There's really a resurgence in hardware in general, and I think any time that there is that type of focus on a segment, there will be rapid improvements. It's just with manufacturing, it's you're constrained by capital equipment cycles in large ways. So with hardware, you do design for manufacturing, not the other way around. It's not, you're typically not modifying the manufacturing process for hardware, though we are starting to see that change as well. So I am bullish on hardware in general, over the long term, but you just need to have a lot more proof points that you can actually build it, actually scale it, or actually capitalize well enough.
And you need to raise as well, I think, significantly more than
a lot of money.
Product. Yeah. What about the next company? I can't tell what it did. It's something related to marijuana.
Yes, yeah. So then I completely changed course and I started a cannabis company. Decided to go into regulated space. This was around the time that it was legalized in California. So
it wasn't a long time ago. So 10 years?
No, we started that in 2019.
2019.
Yeah.
Okay, 7 years.
Yeah. So grew that up. It was another.
What is a cannabis company? You sell cannabis?
We produced cannabis products. So joints, like gums, tinctures.
And, awesome.
That
okay, all right.
Yeah.
So Californian, huh?
Yeah, totally. It was completely different track, but again, taking the hardware experience, it's very similar. That was still consumer industry. It was still producing a physical good. Working in an agricultural space was really interesting. Working in a regulated space taught me a lot as well about how to navigate those things. But it was, let's say, much more straightforward than building complex hardware. It was still an operational problem and a lot of challenges there, but an incredible experience to be able to build that up and sell that.
I don't think marketing would have been hard, or sales, right?
Well, it wasn't, besides for the regulation, right? And so because of that, you couldn't do Meta ads or Google ads, that type of thing. And so you had to be a lot more creative. And so I think it really rewarded entrepreneurs who did have creativity, because you had to find ways to work
the
around
regulation
problems.
is against marketing cannabis-based products.
Uh,
The
Bi-
advertisers can't. It's in their terms of service. I work at WeMaps, the CPO.
Okay.
That's when I took it public. So we should talk about this after.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the platform's forbidden.
The platform is forbidden from advertising.
No, they forbid it themselves.
What do you mean the platform is
The
forbidden?
platforms that don't do alcohol, don't do gambling, don't do.
Exactly. It's in their terms of service.
It's a terms of service thing, not a regulation thing.
Oh, it's a terms of service that they don't advertise themselves. I see. But yet you need to advertise and somehow make revenues.
Yeah, and so it's a lot. It's companies like Weed Maps.
That's a little like privacy, right? You want to go and like take all the data on your users and abuse it so that you can gain from it, except you're not allowed to. So it's a very similar thing where you have to sell something you're not allowed to sell, right? It's like
in a way, you're allowed to sell it in California, but you can't cross state
understand
lines
the
with
word.
it. Yeah.
And then what made you exit, and did it sell the company, or what did you do with it?
Yeah. So with that company, actually, when we started the company, I think as an entrepreneur, you need to look at any company that you're starting, and what are the risks? Like what are the bets that you need to see pay off for that company to work?
Right.
With that company, our gamble, our bet was that there was going to be some type of change in the federal landscape. And so even when we started the company, literally you were not allowed to have a bank. You couldn't have a bank account because banks are federally
You can't
insured.
have a bank account?
No. So when we started the company, whenever we sold something, we had to collect cash and then go.
That's like women starting companies in the 60s.
Yeah. No,
right?
actually, yeah. And so when I looked at the risk that I was taking and the thing that needed to change for the entire industry to have, a shot of real growth, it was some type of progress on the federal level, even if that was just allowing banking and therefore investment from institutions. A couple, or maybe 3-4 years into the company, it became clear that was not happening. That was going much more slowly than what we were expecting. At the time, we had been growing, doubling year over year, and had really good growth. But I sort of saw the writing on the wall as, that the bet that I made as an entrepreneur that was going to change isn't changing. So I need to make a hard call now of, do we try to sell the company, or do we try to fight through, maybe a decade of pain? And so I spoke with our board, our investors, and we made the decision to sell the company then.
How hard was it to fundraise for that company? Was it venture backed?
It was. We were backed by investors who were professional investors, partners at VC firms, but it was not backed by institutions, because again, as a fund manager,
in my contract, I cannot invest in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so most funds are like that. So it was mostly angels or partners at funds who wanted to be exposed to the cannabis space, and so they would invest personally.
And how much did you raise?
For that company, very little. I felt like with the first company, we raised a lot. Today that doesn't seem like a lot, but
It is a lot then. Yeah.
it felt like a lot, and so I wanted to try to be as capital efficient as possible, and so that was my focus and my goal with that company was, don't raise a lot, become profitable as fast as possible. And I want to say we only raised like $2.5 million in total. And
you grew it to how much? And are you allowed to reveal that?
I don't think I can reveal that. Yeah.
But significant enough that you were able to exit successfully, and then this is your third company. So you've never worked for anybody. You've just been a founder all through.
Yeah. So now Instrumental is the first time that I'm actually working for
you are.
company. Yeah. So Instrumental is 10 years old. I joined about a year ago as Chief Product Officer, leading product and engineering.
And tell us about Instrumental. What do you do?
Yeah, so Instrumental, we are a manufacturing process control platform. So it's been AI native company from the start. Started with computer vision on manufacturing lines, so we can do live defect detection. We can discover novel issues that they might not know about, and we do a lot with manufacturing data as well. So when a company is building a GPU compute server or high complexity electronics, we can help them identify issues much more quickly, and then also solve the big yield issues. So right now we're experiencing incredible tailwinds with what I was talking about in manufacturing. There's never been a hardware manufacturing explosion like this before, and our product is directly able to help them improve their yields by, sometimes as much as 10 or 20 points. And
What does it mean? You improve the yield. Does it mean you're detecting errors earlier on and mitigating it?
Yeah.
How do you do it?
So say when a product is going through manufacturing, anything that causes that product to fail or not work, that would be something that's reducing the yield. And so typically in consumer electronics, the goal is to have yields in the high 90 percentile. In GPU compute assembly and even defense, and really a lot of products that are coming out now that are much more complex than products were of the past, yields can be much lower. I probably shouldn't say numbers here, but like numbers that would make a career operations executive just tear their hair out. And so with the product like Instrumental, we can literally help accelerate billions in quarterly revenue because we're able to help identify those issues more quickly, and also then end up reducing a huge amount of waste that's sitting on manufacturing floors.
Billions of dollars, they would say. Who would these customers be?
So the ones that I can talk about publicly that we have case studies with are companies like NVIDIA. They're large customer. Meta. I need to remember which ones I can
What
say.
stage is the company in? Is it Series C?
It's a Series C, yeah.
And it's 100 million and over? It's a unicorn?
I can't say.
You can't say.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We can't invest in it anyway. Yeah. Open questions, people. This is interesting. It's so different and unique. What I love about these interviews is that I meet people I wouldn't have a chance to otherwise and learn so much about another way of thinking, but also another industry. So this is your chance. I don't know about you, but I don't know anybody who's run a cannabis company or went to MIT and then started their own company, right? This is cool stuff. So you have questions? Yeah, Duncan.
What's the upfront capital cost for someone on a manufacturing line to bring Instrumental online, right? I presume you have to add infrastructure to the manufacturing line for it to work, or does it integrate with like already able processing systems?
Repeat the question.
Great question. Yeah. So his question was, what's the capital cost of adding a product like Instrumental to a manufacturing line? So there's a couple options, but we often are able to work with the equipment that's already on the line. So manufacturing lines often already have cameras. They have a lot of data sources. So we do have hardware that we can provide and deploy on the line, but we're a software platform. So we can take in any data that's already there and work directly with that right off the bat.
Are you on-site deployed, or is it cloud and you like skate up to the cloud?
Is it on-site or on the cloud?
We deploy edge compute, but then everything gets pushed to the cloud so that the engineers from a company like NVIDIA can just sit at their desktop and see all the results coming in.
And then do you generate like reports and dashboards, or how do you justify that you were the ones who actually mitigated the errors and lowered the cost?
Yeah, well, that's always the enterprise sales problem, right? So we do have dashboarding. We really focus on making sure that we both are surfacing problems, but also helping make sure that they're remediated, and then following up with our executive buyer, our champions, to make sure that they have awareness of what's happening on the manufacturing.
So it seems like this is something that's table stakes. Why is it that it was not already done and Instrumental had to come along as a Series C company to do it?
It's a great question. When I look back at when I built hardware and had our own products, we dealt with problems that you find out when the product is in the field that you have an issue, right? And then we had no images, we had no data that we could go back to, and manufacturing data is really fragmented. Also, usually most of it lives locally at the manufacturing site and then gets deleted after a month. And so with the product like Instrumental, you're actually able to have that traceability in the cloud. Look at it. You can look at what you're currently manufacturing. You can look at RMAs. And so it's a good question why something like this didn't exist before.
But do you have to seed your Instrumental with pictures or images of what is broken in order for it to know what is the norm?
Excellent question. So one of the benefits of Instrumental is that we have millions of data points that we've been able to train on as well. And so there are other vision systems that are often deployed in PCB manufacturing. Those often take hundreds or even thousands of units to train on. We're typically able to get up and running just with 5 example photos. And so we can deploy on a line.
5 example photos of what is right or what's not broken?
Yeah. Yeah, so 5 products, units that go through the line, then we're already detecting defects.
And it doesn't matter what kind of device it is or what that piece of hardware is.
We're focused on electronics.
Consumer electronics.
Well, primarily in the past it was consumer electronics. Now our big segment is GPU compute servers. There's so much growth there, and there's so much demand. I mean, we see it with every earnings report, right? How much demand there is versus what they can actually supply. So we're helping close that gap.
So GPU compute servers, your instrumental will look at it and know if there's a defect in it.
Exactly.
Interesting. Wow. Yeah, question.
So manufacturing line is a huge array of companies, right? Why did you choose the GPU companies? Why not some of the others?
Yeah, so her question was, why did we choose the AI infrastructure space versus other areas? There's a lot of areas that are growing now, which I think even one of the demos earlier today was doing similar things, but in oil and gas and other areas. When we looked at what our strengths were and also just where there's the biggest need in the market, the AI infrastructure space just made a ton of sense. They're struggling, or I shouldn't even say struggling. They just have so much demand that they're trying to ramp up so quickly, and there's yield loss, there's waste, and so it was the product that had been built for 10 years for consumer electronics was able to transfer perfectly over to this market segment. And so we've just doubled down and really focused fire there.
Is it possible that computer vision is finally here, and therefore you're going to have like a whole slew of companies that are going to try and do what Instrumental's doing, and it's a crowded space?
Yes and no. There are many companies that have tried doing what we're doing, and even some of the biggest CSPs have tried it themselves. Everyone that has told us that they're trying it has not been able to successfully replicate what we're doing. So even we're using the best of the best models, right? We're always updating our work too, but having a decade of subject matter expertise is really helpful in the space.
So what's it like being the chief product officer of this company? Do you have like a team of product managers who go and like watch and then write these Jira tickets, and then engineers are sitting and building the product? It's like classic, just like software product management.
Yeah, well, it was, but I think the job of us as executives, especially at startups, is to look at what the future is going to be and not what the world is today. But even the world today, if you really analyze it, it has changed so much because of AI. And so, yes, in the past, Instrumental was product managers, engineers, working how most companies typically do. We are now really completely changing the way that we work to be fully AI enabled. And so, when people ask me about competition, what I'm worried about, I'm not worried about a big company out competing us. I'm worried about the startup that started 2 years ago that can move way more quickly than we are because they're AI native from the start, like things like what Tammy was talking about just before. And so we're orchestrating our entire company to work that way as well. And so one of the things that we recently changed was, instead of having a product manager and 10 engineers working on projects as you would in the past, we're forming much tighter teams, but making it AI native from the start. And so having product managers and engineers in a repo together, having all the context there, putting all your transcripts of customer calls, all really creating a whole team operating system that's centered around AI and all that context that it's needed. And so we're now seeing teams of a product manager, a tech lead, and a couple engineers be able to move 2 or 3 times more quickly than a team of 10 used to.
Wow.
And so really just trying to continue building those efficiency gains.
Are you replacing people with tools?
Well, I wouldn't put it that way because we're still hiring quite a bit. Okay. So we really need to grow the team. But my view on it is that a human should not do anything that an AI can do just as well. Humans should be focused on things that we're uniquely capable of and that only we can do. And all of the manual tasks, writing the PRDs, the Jira tickets, even now doing most of the coding work, should not be done by us. We should be orchestrating the systems and leveraging the efficiency that we can.
The other question that arises is, how do you analyze your own error? Like, what if your software is hallucinating on the defects? And how do you track that down?
Yeah, well, it's really important to have a ground truth. So we have, we have a lot of data sets for every product that we're building. We make sure that we're running a lot of evals. And so it's always, and of course we do discover hallucinations also. But the more that we tune the model and the more data that we have that we can evaluate against, then the better that we can make that. But I mean, even yesterday I was in a customer call and about a new product that we're developing, and they said, oh, I want to see a disclaimer at the top that says like, this is AI powered, so don't trust all the results. And so like that's just the world that we live in now.
Yeah.
People recognize that, and of course we need to do everything that we can to make the product as reliable and as accurate as possible, especially on the computer vision side of things. People expect 99% or more accuracy and reliability, but it's doing the work, but also recognizing that we're in a very new place now where people have, I think, a lot more tolerance for variability than they used to in the past.
What's I didn't take my notes, but I'd love to hear. I don't know if you've switched from the founder mindset, honestly, even though you're not working as the founder.
Mm-hmm.
What could you give as advice? We have a lot of people who've never been a founder ever. What would be words of advice on how do you develop that mindset, and what is it like to be innovative? Not take direction the entire time.
Yeah. I definitely am still in the founder mindset, and that's one of the reasons why that Anna and Sam, the CEO and CTO, they wanted to bring in a founder into this role, because it is helpful in a startup to have that mindset. But I think there's a few things. One is tolerance for ambiguity. And as a founder, as anyone who's in a startup, you have to have that tolerance for ambiguity, and you have to be able to pathfind your way through that. I think the ability to just Kool-Aid man through a brick wall and find a way to solve the problem no matter what the cost is really important. And another thing I think is a very underappreciated part of starting a company or running a startup is so much of it is just about perseverance and just about surviving. And getting to that point where you have the opportunity. Like our friend from Citizens earlier was talking about the overnight success of Replit, how quickly they got to 100 million in revenue. Replit is a 10-year-old company. Right. OpenAI has been around for 10 years. Yeah. And most of these companies that we see this overnight success, it was years and years in the making. And it takes that perseverance and that ability just to chew glass for years and years and years and tolerate that pain that enables you to actually be successful.
Yeah, I think the thing is, if you are a person who's more of the employee mindset, there's nothing wrong. It's just you're chewing a different kind of glass, right? It's just like taking direction the entire time, which is super painful, and you don't realize it till you get out of it. So either way, you're chewing glass. It's depends on which one you pick, and I think this one's harder because there's no guarantee of a paycheck as well.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah,
you're driving the ship. What is one leadership advice that you got that you value, or a podcast or a book that you read?
Yeah, well, when I started my first company, I had a major chip on my shoulder. I was 22 years old, managing people that were in their 40s, 50s, experienced engineers. So I read a lot. There are a couple things that really stood out that I think I've kept through my career. One is the classic Steve Jobs advice of focus means cutting the 100 ideas that you love, something to that effect. In a startup, it's really, really important to focus. And I think I don't even think about prioritizing. I think about what are all the things that we're deprioritizing? What are all the things that we're saying no to? What are all the things that we're going to let break? Because we know that we need to execute one thing really well. So that's a big thing. Another that actually really stood out to me was a close mentor of mine who's now a close friend. In an early negotiation with a manufacturer, he gave me the advice to never lie in a negotiation. Always be honest. And
not even exaggerate.
Well, so I think there's a big difference. There's a big difference between not lying and not sharing everything, right? So you can't lay all the cards on the table. You can't go full kimono. But it really stood out to me, and he was presenting it from an ethical standpoint, but also from a hey, if you lie, you're going to end up trapping yourself in that at some point. And so that really stood out to me. Also, just coming from a person that I really respect as a human and the success that they've had. And so that stuck with me through my career. I'm very careful to never lie in business. You don't always need to share everything, but you should be honest.
Interesting. So what would you be doing if you were not a technologist? Or are you one?
Yeah.
With your marijuana business, maybe you're not a technologist.
Yeah, well, that was a bit different, but I built a bit of a reputation as, you know, the person who had built all these internal systems for the company, and, you know, was really tech enabling our low tech brand. But I love building, so I don't think I would be doing anything other than being a technologist. But I did take a year off between companies to travel the world and go surfing.
Oh, nice.
And I hope to have a similar, you know, mid-career retirement again in the future.
Take a year off and go surfing. You know, it's just that I feel when I'm looking at you, I'm thinking you've just like broken through things that I cannot even define. And it's like, oh my gosh, maybe next lifetime, we'll see. But yeah, thank you so much. Big round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you.